Hello.
Oh,
Hello. All right. I hope everyone can hear me okay and everyone is settling in okay. Well, hello, everyone. Good afternoon and welcome to the Leave Canada Books webinar on working with publishers in Ukraine. Bienvenue à toutes et à tous. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Gabrielle Echeverry. I'm the Deputy Executive Director at Leave Canada Books, and I'm just here today to present our lovely speakers and to facilitate the Q&A session at the end where necessary and help anybody out with some technical issues if I can as we go along. But before we begin with the presentation, I just want to share some of our regular housekeeping information, mainly pertaining to interpretation and Q&A. So today's presentation will be given in English, as per usual, with French interpretation. It should take about 60 minutes, in addition to some time set aside at the end for your questions. We have interpreters available today. So for those of you who need the interpretation function or would like to use the interpretation function, please click the interpretation icon in your meeting controls at the bottom of your screen. It should look like a globe. And then click on the language that you would like to hear, which in this case would be French. For those of you who don't require interpretation, please leave the interpretation feature off. After the presentation is complete, we'll take questions in both languages via the Q&A function. If you can try and keep all your questions to the Q&A window, that would be greatly appreciated. And feel free to send questions, to type in your questions throughout the webinar, and we'll just wait till the end of the presentation to answer them. But if there's a topic that is of real interest to you, then please go ahead and send that question at that moment. And of course, if you encounter any problems with Zoom or technical problems, please message me directly as the host, and I'll do my best to sort it out for you. So to get to our presentation today, we're very pleased to be hosting today's webinar, providing key insights on the transformations in the Ukrainian book industry over the last 2 years and the ways in which Canadian and Ukrainian publishers can continue to work together. 2 years after the Russian military invasion, Ukraine's society, culture, and economy are adapting to exceptional circumstances and enormous pressures. Many Ukrainian publishers and authors have remained active in their home country and at international publishing events, sustaining much of the momentum they created in the period before the war. And we were very, very fortunate to have worked with the Ukrainian Book Institute, the Trade Commissioner Service in Ukraine shortly before the war, and producing a market guide. I encourage anyone who hasn't seen it already to take a look. Much of the information has changed, but it was a really thorough document, giving a really great sense of the links that the publishing industry had gone to in Ukraine, and some of the great initiatives that had started there before the war, and that we'll get to hear how they've changed now. So I'm delighted to introduce today's speakers: Olena Odinoka, Deputy Director for International Cooperation at the Ukrainian Book Institute, will be giving us an overview of the book market in Ukraine. And our second speaker today, Olesia Sheremak, Trade Commissioner for the Embassy of Canada to Ukraine, will provide some specific information on Canada's Trade Commissioner Service in Ukraine and the kind of services they're able to provide now. To present today's speakers, for Olena, in her role at UBI, she carries out the international communications and coordinates participation in international events and the implementation of the Translate Ukraine program. On behalf of the Institute, she coordinates large-scale international projects co-funded by the European Commission. Olena has worked in the book industry since 2011 and has more than 13 years of experience as a leading marketing specialist in one of the biggest publishing houses and chain of bookstores in Ukraine. And she is a co-founder of the literary agency Oval. I hope I said that right. Oval. Olesia Sheremak has been serving at the Embassy of Canada, Ukraine for over 20 years. She currently holds a position of a trade commissioner and covers arts and creative industries, education, financial services, and transportation files. She has also worked in the development and immigration programs of the embassy and was responsible for analytics, humanitarian aid, international assistance projects, and other files. That's quite a lot to take on. And Olesia holds a bachelor's degree in business administration and has a background in English and German philology. So welcome, Olena and Olesia, and thank you so much for joining us today. Olena, I'll turn over the mic to you now so that you can get started.
Hello, dear organizers of this webinar, dear publishers, participants, and guests. My name is Solana Odonoka, and I'm the representative of the Ukrainian Book Institute, which is the state entity that implements several directions of the state policy of promoting Ukrainian literature abroad, promoting reading in Ukraine, doing researches of Ukrainian book markets, supporting Ukrainian publishers, and taking care of library funds replenishment. And I'm so happy to see you all here, and I'm really honored to be here today representing the data on the Ukrainian book market. And gratitudes to my colleague Yuri Marchenko. I hope he managed to join this webinar, and Maria Kabuk, who worked with me on gathering and representing data in the presentation, which I will show you just in the second. We are going to the Ukrainian book market. Today is the 705th day of the full-scale Russian invasion in Ukraine, and daily missile attacks continue. Still, 20% of the territory of Ukraine is occupied by Russian invaders, and unfortunately, more than 80 writers of Ukrainian literature are on the front line now, and more than 30 of them have been killed by Russian army. The population estimated it's 30 to 36 millions of Ukrainians, and 5-6 millions of which had to flee from war and live abroad now. The average monthly salary in Ukraine is approximately 500 euros, and the average cost of new book is about 10 euros. Share of spending on cultural goods is 1.2%. It's the data of 2021. I have to tell you at this point that it is really hard to make any researches now, because we do not have state financial support for this, because, as you may guess, a lot of finances are going to our defense, but still we are trying, because researches are very important, and these are the starting points for understanding where to move on. As every day, Ukraine has to spend immense amounts of money for the defense, but still, our state provides support for the book market, which is zero value-added tax on printed, electronic, and audio books. In 2022, state provided anti-COVID support. That was grants of institutional support to publishers, monetary subsidy for the purchase of books by the population of the country, prohibition of book import from Russia, support of publishing new literary works. The Ukrainian Book Institute implements contests for publishing books. Assistance for purchase of books for certain categories of Ukrainians, in particular who have reached the age of majority from 2024, it will be implemented, and subsidies for bookstores also to be activated after victory. But despite everything, the Ukrainian book market is alive, recovering, and as we can see on this chart, there was decline in 2020 due to COVID, and then recovery in 2021, collapse in 2022 due to Russian invasion into Ukraine, and gradual recovery in 2023. Due to the latest data, we have approximately 300 publishers, 600 retailers or points of sales, 50 online booksellers, and the market size is around 60-80 million euros. Here you can see the chart with the number of publishers based on the submitted mandatory copy by years. It is actually the most correct indicator, which is objective and based on the physical copy of the book, and the number of publishers differs from the previous slide because here all editions are taken into account, even those that do not go to market. And here you can see the chart of places of purchase of printed books. Specialized bookstores, including shop malls, are leading places of purchase of books in Ukraine, and the trade and marketplaces are in the second place. Here we can see that all the other places, such as non-specialized stores, good markets, trading platforms via internet, specialized book markets, catalogs, book fairs, festivals, book presentations are less common for book purchase, and the last position, purchase on the pages of the social media. According to the data of 2022, the total net income of the book market, Ukrainian book market, is 78 million euros. The top 20 publishers generate almost 3/4 of the total revenue. All 285 publishing houses from the sampling collected approximately 78 million euros. This corresponds to the indicators of Cyprus and 8 times less than Poland. According to the classification, all presented publishing houses, except Book Leisure Club, are small enterprises, not even medium ones. And according to the criterion, net revenue is up to 8 million euros per year. In the sampling, there are 285 publishing houses. 162 of them have a revenue of less than 1 million euro per year. The majority of the publishers in quantity and revenue are the publishers of children books, education, and fiction. What is important that publishers of educational literature held their ground even without governmental support. In Ukraine, there are 9 national book chains, total revenue of which amounted to 108 million euros, including a 36 million euro state government subsidy. And it's the data of 2021-2022. And you can see the list of the book chains here and the number of bookstores they have in their chains. On this chart, you can see the data on the base of page visited of the most popular internet book sellers. The data of October, December 2023, and the most popular among Ukrainian readers are Book Yeah. It's Yeah Bookstores book chain, Yakabu internet platform, and Book Club internet platform. And actually here you can see the structure of book publishing in print runs. As we can see, the print runs of the educational literature prevailed by 2022. After 2021, the print run of books of Ukrainian authors increased, as well as the print run of translations into Ukrainian language. This chart is based on the Book Chamber data, which is includes all publications with the Ministry of Education stamp as textbooks, and not only textbooks themselves, but also manuals, workbooks, and other similar methodological materials. This is the chart of print run of books in millions of copies by years. Here we can clearly see the connection with the COVID period and the fall in 2020 in all the categories, in translations, books of Ukrainian authors, educational books, then recovery in 2021, collapse in 2022 due to the Russian invasion into Ukraine, and gradual recovery in 2023. The Ukrainian book market still hasn't caught up with the figures of 2019. You can see it in blue color. When the figure of print runs of books in total was 61,250,000 copies of books, but at the same time taking into account the fact that the main book printing center of Ukraine is in Kharkiv and all Ukraine is under daily missile shelling, the indicators for 2023 are half of the pre-crisis time indicators, which is quite an achievement. Moving to the figures of titles in the structure of Ukrainian book publishing, we can see the growth of translated works of foreign authors into Ukrainian language and a reduction of the titles of educational books. The amount of titles of books of Ukrainian authors remain more or less the same. And for your attention, the diagram of publishing of book titles. And here we clearly can see the connection to the data of print run of books in millions of copies by year, fall in 2020, recovery in 2021, collapse in 2022, and gradual recovery in 2023. One of the biggest challenges for us is the struggle with Russian language books on our market. And this data, according to the Book Chamber of Ukrainian Statistics, shares of publication of Ukrainian and Russian language books. We can see the gradual fall of the figures of Russian language titles and print runs of books on the Ukrainian market and growth of the Ukrainian language titles and print runs, which is amazing, I should say. On this slide, you can see the data on the number of readers in Ukraine and its ratio to some other countries in Europe, such as France, Finland, Greece, and Norway. This research was made on the basis of the European Item Core Set for Reading Service. The indicators are not bad, but we still have a lot to do, to make a lot of efforts to improve them. And moving forward on defining readers in Ukraine, please have a look at the chart of reading different types of books by Ukrainians in years 2023, 2020, and 2018 in comparison. We can see that up to 2020, there was increase in the number of readers of printed books. But the full-scale invasion of Russia into Ukraine in 2022 caused changes. Millions of Ukrainians had to flee from war. They had to leave their homes with no possibility to take their books with them, and finding themselves in foreign countries, they faced the problem of absence of Ukrainian language books there. This situation pushed up demand for electronic and audiobooks, and Ukrainian publishers started to produce more of such types of books. But in general, amount of readers grew by at least 10% in general. To encourage foreign publishers to cooperate with Ukrainian colleagues, Ukrainian Book Institute implements Translate Ukraine Translation Support Program, which supports foreign publishers' translations from Ukrainian language into foreign languages. In the frames of the program, every winner of the competitive selection can receive the reimbursement for certain expenses in the amount up to 8,000 euros per project. And here you can see some results of 2020, 2021, and 2023. In 2022, we couldn't implement this program because of obvious reasons, but in general, we supported translations of 170 titles of Ukrainian literary works into 22 languages in 37 countries of the world. And I encourage you to apply to the program this year. The deadline is March 25th. And all the information regarding open call is on our website, the link of which you can find at the end of the presentation that I think will be sent to you. Or you can contact us and we will provide you with all the necessary information regarding Translate Ukraine Translation Support Program. And here are some tips and links where you can find Ukrainian books, publishers, and right holders. The first that should be mentioned is the collection of books from Ukraine on the Frankfurt Rights platform. There you can find up to 500 titles of Ukrainian literature of different genres, ages, and topics. There is also rights catalog on the website of the Ukrainian Publishers and Booksellers Association, and there is one more catalog, Ukrainian Literature Rights on the website of one of the, actually on the biggest book media in Ukraine, Chitomo. By the way, this media develops their English language version where you can find a lot of interesting materials regarding Ukrainian book market in English. Also, the Ukrainian Book Institute organizes Ukraine's participation in the international book fairs at the national stand. You can always find a lot of Ukrainian books and publishers willing to cooperate with you. And the international book fairs we usually participate in are Vilnius Book Fair, London Book Fair, Leipzig Book Fair, Bologna Children's Book Fair, Warsaw International Book Fair, and Frankfurt Book Fair. The list can be expanded due to financial possibilities of all the invitations of organizers of international book fairs to participate for free of charge, because we have really challenges about this right now. And also you are very welcome to Ukrainian book fairs, which are Kyiv Book Arsenal, Kyiv Book Fest, and Lviv Book Forum. It is worth saying that despite of Russia's war in Ukraine, we still held book fairs anyway, due to all the safety requirements. Here you can find some statistics of books publishing and the share of translations, including textbooks in 2022. Here we can see that in 2022, almost 25% of all titles printed in Ukraine were translations from foreign languages, and the amount of print runs was the third part of all print runs. According to data provided by the biggest book chain in Ukraine, the bookstore, in 2023, 2/3 of all sales of translations of books of foreign authors into Ukrainian, and 2% of all sales are books in English language. And here is the same statistics of books publishing and share of translations, but in a diagram to see the difference between translations of fiction literature and books for kids. And moving to the most popular authors and books, we will talk about survey done by the biggest book media in Ukraine, Chitomo, I mentioned about. It's the survey on purchasing preferences, and here is also the link to it. I think you will have the possibility to look through it later. But what we're saying that before the start of the full-scale invasion, Ukrainians bought every fifth book by Ukrainian author, and in 2023, every third book. Regarding the most popular Ukrainian classics, the undisputed leader of the nomination is the non-canonical canon series by Vihola Publishing House. The most successful books that simultaneously entered the top sellers of 4 out of 6 Ukrainian booksellers were The City by Valerian Podmohylny, Notes of a Puck-Nosed Mephistopheles by Volodymyr Vinichenko. Here you can see also the publishing houses that printed these books. Tigrolove and Garden of Gethsemane by Ivan Bagriany, and these same books, as well as The Tale of the Sanatorium Zone by Mykola Khviliovey, are among the best sellers in Kyiv bookstores. The most popular books by modern Ukrainian authors, and the first place is taken by the book I See You Are Interested in the Dark by Ilarion Pavluk, Old Line Publishing House. It interested buyers of all interviewed Kyiv bookstores and 5 out of 6 Ukrainian marketplaces. 3 more titles represented in the top sellers of the majority of respondents are The Ladder by Eugenia Kuznetsova, The Colony, The New Dark Ages by Max Kidruk, and Dancing with the Bones by Ukrainian Semyankiv. And speaking about the most popular translations, we have to admit that the taste of buyers of all Kyiv bookstores converged on the following books. Most sought the most outstanding operations of Israeli intelligence by Michael Bar Zohar and Nizim Mishal, and The Churchill Factor, How One Man Changed History by Boris Johnson. And the reason of preferring these books are obvious. And moving to top 10 writers Ukrainians choose to read in 2021. Those were Megan MacDonald, Tom Fletcher, Frederick Beckman, John Streletsky, Yulia Yarmolenko, Terry Pratchett, Halina Vdovichenko, Dorj Batu, Elizabeth Gilbert, Stephen King. And two of them are Ukrainian authors. And then moving to 2023, the top 10 of writers Ukrainian choose to read were Agatha Christie, Jennifer Armentrout, Serhiy Zhadan, Frederick Beckman again, Tess Gerritsen, Stephen King, George Orwell, Max Kedruk, Colin Hoover, and Ilarion Pavluk, and 3 Ukrainian authors here appeared. And top 10 best books of 2023 are I See You Are Interested in the Dark by Ilarion Pavluk, Man's Search on Meaning by Viktor Frankl, Dancing with Bones by Andriy Semyankiv, Taming Tigers, Do Things You Never Thought You Could by Jim Lawless, A Thousand Boy Kissed by Tilly Cole, The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid, 8 religions that ruled the world, all about their rivalry, similarities, and differences by Stephen Prothero, From Blood and Ash by Jennifer Armentrout, The Surgeon by Tess Gerritsen, and The Gates of Europe, A History of Ukraine by Serhiy Plokhy. 3 of these top 10 are books of Ukrainian authors, and also it was a thing that in recent years the interest to books in history of Ukraine increased. And at the end of my report, and before we'll start a Q&A session, and before other speaker, Olesya, will have a floor. I want to thank dear Gabriela and all the other representatives of Delivers Canada Books for organizing this amazing opportunity for us. Thank you all for being here today, for your interest in Ukrainian book market and willingness to cooperate with Ukrainian publishers. It is really so important for us because Ukrainian book market is vulnerable these days, and the best way to support Ukrainian publishers is to work with them. And one more kind reminder about the Translate Ukraine Translation Support Program and the open call that ends on March 25th. And if you have any questions or searching for the right holder's contact information or any other question we can help, please do not hesitate to contact us. We are always happy to answer all your questions. And thank you for your attention. And now I'll give the floor to Olesya Sharemok, the Trade Commissioner, Embassy of Canada. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Olena. If you could help me also to show the 2 slides that I'll be talking about. So hello to everyone. I'm Olesya Sharemok, as was already mentioned. I'm a Trade Commissioner at the Embassy of Canada in Kyiv, in Ukraine. And I am very happy to have this opportunity to join the webinar and to hear all the useful information that colleagues from Delivers Canada Books and Ukrainian Book Institute have shared, and also to share the information about the services that the Embassy of Canada in Ukraine can provide to you on your way when you plan to enter Ukrainian books market. So briefly about the embassy operations. Those were fully suspended in 2022 from February to September. Then they were partially available for another year, and as of summer last year, we are back to our full operations and to our full capacity. So the Trade Commissioner service team in Kyiv is relatively small. We're just 4 people at this point. I cover a few files, and arts and creative industries is one of them. Within this file, Kyiv traditionally focuses on 2 subsectors, which are books publishing and audiovisual co-production. So bilateral activity in both subsectors have been relatively low in the past 2 years for obvious reasons. But as you can see from the UBI report, that Ukrainian publishing industry has shown an extraordinary resilience and is recovering slowly but surely. And it also reveals new trends and new opportunities. So we hope that bilateral cooperation of Canadian and Ukrainian publishers will be increasing. And we are here on the ground ready to provide the needed support. So the official mandate of Trade Commissioner's service includes the following key services that we provide to Canadian businesses who seek to export their goods and services to foreign markets. And these are very generic as they apply to all the sectors that we work with. So the first service is preparing Canadian companies for international markets. Second is providing an assessment of companies' potential in a targeted market through the use of market intelligence and providing advice on market strategies. Third is providing qualified contacts. And the last one is resolving problems and business challenges. So in other words, and translating it to the publishing sector, trade commissioners on the ground are there to provide information about the local context, about market, to help you understand if you're prepared for selling abroad. And we would also help with connecting you to the right contacts and the right people. So if you need support in Ukraine with any of these areas, please feel free to reach out to me and let me know how I can help you. Additionally, there is an important Ukraine-specific information to keep in mind, which is the Government of Canada Travel Advisory, which at this point says to avoid all travel to Ukraine. This is not a ban and does not mean you're forbidden to go. It is you who will be making the decision, but it is the advisory. Did I lose the connection?
No.
Can anybody hear? Okay, good. Sorry. So this travel advisory says to avoid all travel to Ukraine, which is not a ban. So if you are thinking about traveling to Ukraine, please take a note of the advisory at that point and reach out to us, to the Embassy of Canada in Ukraine, if you wish to discuss this in more details, because the situation changes and we can help you with our advice and answer any related questions. This is all I had to share, and thank you very much for attending this webinar, for your attention, and a special thanks to colleagues from Leave of Canada Books and Ukrainian Book Institute for arranging this comprehensive and very useful webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, both of you, for this great presentation. It is really gratifying to see where the industry is now, having, as I mentioned, worked really closely with the Trade Commissioner Service and UBI and Shitomo many years ago, right before the war, and to see how resilient the industry has been. We have a few extra minutes, and I'd like to bring in somebody who has also worked really extensively with the Ukrainian book market and the Trade Commissioner Service, Catherine Mitchell, who also did a lot of webinars and a lot of this kind of work in trying to create collaboration. So I'm just going to bring her in, and hopefully the technology will cooperate. So let's see for a minute. Hi, Catherine. I think you should be able to say a few words now.
can you hear me? I don't know if you care to see me, but you can hear me all right?
We can hear you fine. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you, Gabrielle, and merci. I'm sorry, I'm trying to grab a couple of Ukrainian words in Ukrainian, but I apologize for being slow on the uptake. I just want to take this opportunity, and I'm grateful to Gabrielle for allowing me just a minute. Olena, that was such an impressive presentation. I went through the slides last night with great delight, so impressed to see the kinds of work that UBI, with the aid of your government subsidies, the funding programs that are in place, to anyone on this call in whatever language, the work that has been done by your colleagues, the publishers, the booksellers, and the readers is so impressive, because it just blows away those of us that are on the other side of the ocean, taking, in the situation that is something that you are living every day, and we just are safely here in Canada. So just huge kudos to your colleagues for the amount of work that you've been able to achieve. I think it's fair to say that the slides say it all. I had the pleasure a few years back, before things all imploded, that to work with a number of your colleagues, including the UBI and Chimoto. And so I've been involved, as well as Gabrielle knows, in the Salon with some of the work that's been done even here in Canada to do some assistance to publishers. So I'm just delighted with your work and the translation services that are provided. So kudos, and also, of course, to the embassy, who provided great service years ago and who obviously are continuing to do that. So that's all I have to say is brava, brava, brava. It's really so impressive. And I wish you great success. And I encourage all my colleagues that are on this webinar to take a good long look at the work of the Ukrainian publishers. And also, obviously, we still want to maintain good connections with our Ukrainian friends. So keep up the good work.
Thank you,
Thank you
Catherine.
so much.
Okay, great. So we have a couple of questions already in the queue, which is wonderful. I don't know, I can read them out, Olena, for just also for the benefit of the interpreters. So our first question came off right at the beginning of the presentation, which I love. Thank you, Shane. But the question is there a prominent print-on-demand facility in Ukraine that feeds directly into the country's supply chain? Is Amazon and KPD active and effective in Ukraine, and are Amazon shipping charges high?
Just a second, because I need some assist of my colleague, Pan Yuri Marchenko. I'm not sure he's here.
I can, if you like, see. Would you like me to give Yuri the ability to speak, like we did with Catherine?
Would be great.
Okay. Okay, Yuri, here we go.
Here he is. So I can translate. Yuri, did you hear the question? So I can help with the translation, but I'm not very deep in that context. It's Yuri can answer.
So the question was, is there a prominent print-on-demand facility in Ukraine that goes directly into the country's supply chain, or an Amazon and Kindle, I think it's Kindle Publishing Direct, active and effective there, as well as how high are Amazon shipping charges?
Yuri, do you want to talk, or I just, because he sent me the message. Yuri says that KBD does not support Ukrainian language, so for now. So it's a problem. And Yuri, what can you say about other points of this question? Amazon and book on demand. We have, if I'm not mistaken, we have the service of reading book on demand, but Yuri knows best.
Hello, do you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I think I could hear you there.
Yeah, thank you for your question. I think that Amazon don't deal with the Ukrainian book, and you can find some titles, but it's not really business. So you have possibilities to do business direct to Ukrainian publisher and booksellers without Amazon. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So the second, maybe Yuri, you can stay for the next question.
Okay. I'm here.
Thank you. And so the next question we have is from Barbara, and she says, "You are also brave and resilient, and I congratulate you." Her question is, are many Ukrainian publishers working from outside of Ukraine?
No, not exactly. Some of Ukrainian publishers are outside, but mostly all of them inside Ukraine now. And maybe because of there is a problem to leave Ukraine for men.
Yes. Yes. Well, and I mentioned, and Olena mentioned early on in the presentation how, you know, there are writers on the front, right? So there were writers gone to war. So certainly that would probably be also a preoccupation or something for that male publishers would have to think about as well. Thank you.
Even more, I want to add that Kharkiv, the second biggest city of Ukraine, we call them the publishing capital of Ukraine. This city is under missile attack of Russian wars, and even now Kharkiv publishers and printing plants are working, and the new books published, and this we don't give up.
And also it was saying that a few of European publishers willing to support Ukrainian book business in Ukraine, they also print their books translated, for example, in German language. They print them in Kharkiv and then distribute them to European countries, which is also helpful.
Yeah. I don't know if there are any other questions coming right now. I guess one of the objectives that some of the today's participants noted when they were registering for today's session was, you know, just general information about how best to collaborate with publishers, with Ukrainian publishers. And so I guess one of the questions, or some of the questions, were around what is going to these international book fairs and finding Ukrainian publishers there the best way to make connections? Is going through the Ukrainian Book Institute the best way to make those connections for people who might not already have established connections? We do have a few publishers here today who have already worked with Ukrainian publishers and are still working with them, but for those of our listeners who aren't as familiar with Ukraine, what would be a good step forward?
It is a problem for us to participate in, for example, in Canadian book fairs, because it's far and needs a lot of efforts and financial support to do this. But if Canadian publishers are on the international book fairs, it is really good to get acquainted with people face to face. It works. It always works better. But these days, we do understand all the all the circumstances. So you can find publishers and right holders in the catalogs in the presentation. There are links to the catalogs, to the Frankfurt Rights platform, to the Association of Ukrainian Publishers and Booksellers. There are plenty of contacts, and also you can always contact us and we will find everything for you.
Okay, that's great. Yes, it's always good to have, a couple of sources sort of directly that you can work with directly.
And Yuri,
Sorry, go ahead.
Yuri wanted to add
Go
something.
ahead.
So when you ask about how to collaborate with Ukrainian publishers, can I ask, do you want to sell or do you want to buy?
So from the comments that I saw here, that many want to sell, but they're also interested in buying. So I think it's usually a two-way street, but I think it's a bit of both for sure. And that's a little bit what is a little bit different about this webinar. Usually we try to, say this is how to sell into this market, but we're looking more closely into sort of collaboration and how to make those kind of relationships.
Thank you.
I guess if Canadian publishers want to sell rights, well, it is better for us to buy rights for the financial support. But if you want to sell something, maybe, license, maybe there are programs of Canadian government that can support translations, and maybe there are some reimbursements that Ukrainian publishers can use. So that may be very helpful also. Yes,
certainly we have a translation program for that very purpose, so that would definitely be one of the ways. But so I think, as I mentioned, this is more about how do we establish those relationships for collaboration, and then also support through the buying of rights, not just the selling, which is usually what we try to support here in our industry. There's one more question, and then a couple of comments related to the questions, and they're from Barbara. I think one is the comment that she's met with Ukrainian publishers at Frankfurt Book Fair and Bologna Book Fair. So that's great. Thank you, Barbara. I think that's a good way for people to continue to meet with publishers. But she also asked, do I understand that Ukrainian publishers are allowed to leave Ukraine to attend international fairs still, even though it might be harder for international publishers to work, or for Ukrainian publishers, to work outside of Ukraine right now?
There are difficulties for men participating, the representatives of the publishing houses to participate in foreign book fairs, but still they can deal with it with the Ministry of Culture. They can receive the permission to go abroad and to participate, but most of the representative of the publishing houses in the book fairs are women.
Okay, so it's a very sort of gendered element that I think would be very different than what we're used to seeing. Thank you, Barbara, for those questions. I think those are other questions. I had some, as I mentioned, some more specific questions about, the popularity of nonfiction or memoir in Ukraine, and if that's something that Ukrainian readers or Ukrainian publishers would be interested in working on, especially for publishers who focus on that here. But I think you've touched on that in your presentation, and certainly we can, if there are more specific questions related to that, we can always put our participants in contact with you. Would that be the way to go, Elena, or someone at UBI?
Sure.
Okay, fantastic. So I think that is all for the questions. So unless anybody else would like to answer, set anything in, I think we have made it under time, which is fantastic. Usually we tend to go over time, so This is great. Well, I think that is all for today. For everybody, thank you again for joining us. As you know, we're always grateful to have people here with us, and we're so grateful to have Olena and Olesia here, and giving us this, this very, very this very special perspective on something I think, as Catherine mentioned, most of us can't imagine. And we're very grateful. It's a great privilege to be able to hear about this and meet with you and see how resilient your industry has been under these circumstances. And we're very happy that you were able to spend some time with us. Thank you, Yuri, also for jumping in and giving us some hard facts, some data. So for anyone who has any questions, again, that they'd like to share with us after, please feel free to forward any questions to me, and I'd be happy to send them on to Olena and Yuri or Olesia, but you should also have their contact information in the slides we provided. And thanks again for being here. Yuri, I think you wanted to say something. Please go ahead.
Yes, last but not least, I want to say very thankful to Canadian people, to Canadian government for support for Ukrainian, and all of Ukrainian knows how many Canadian do for Ukrainian support, and thank you very much.
I can't.
Yeah, I'm joining to this gratitude because there are a lot of Ukrainians in Canada, and I think it's one of the biggest diaspora, and I have to say that I have a lot of relatives there as well. But the reason they got there was the Second World War. So anyway, Canada supports so much, and we are very grateful for that. And I hope that our cultural ties will be stronger and stronger.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you, Elena. Yes, let's hope that we can continue the support and collaboration. And this is maybe just one small step. So thank you, everyone, again. And now it's my turn to thank the Government of Canada for funding the presentation. And thank you, everybody, for being here today. We look forward to hearing from you, any feedback you might have. If you want to send us your feedback in the survey, or again, email me directly with any questions or comments. It's always great to hear from you. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful afternoon. And thank you, Elena. Thank you, Olesia, Yuri. Take good care, and I hope to talk to you soon.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.